for today. And you do remember that on Monday, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, said the Supreme Court's decision contradicted the overwhelming evidence of election rigging, false claim of technical glitch, and substantial non-compliance with rules set by INEC itself, and a whole lot of other issues. So this morning, we'll be looking at trying to analyze some of the issues he raised, but not just that. We'll also be looking at the state of the nation and a whole lot of other issues, the off-cycle elections coming up in 3 different states on Saturday and all of that. And to help us do analysis of this is former chairman of People's Democratic Party in Anambra State, Chief Dan Ulasi, who's also a political analyst. Thank you so much, Chief, and welcome.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've had lots of problems. A lot of relations died, so we've been burying from one town to the other, friends.
Oh my God.
So it's quite been very busy.
Our heart goes to them. Okay, so let's move into it. Let's begin with what your candidate really in the 2023 general election said on Monday when he addressed the World Conference. He raised a number of issues regarding the judgment, by the Supreme Court. Maybe we should do specifics now. He first said what the Supreme Court did has actually made Nigerians really to lose confidence in the judiciary. Do you agree with him on that?
Well, I don't think it's a process of agreeing or not agreeing. I have to say that democracy depends on a very heavy dose or heavy doses of civility. And underline the word civility. In all civilized communities, those who practice democracy are very civilized people. And civility involves honor, integrity, honesty, ability to say you're sorry when you feel you're wrong. But in this country, Nigerian politicians have developed a toxic tendency of stash and burn politics, which is very dangerous. And because they have developed that tendency, you know what it has done? People have developed the tendency of this reflective instinct to self-preservation. Mark my words, reflective instinct to self-preservation. And that is thuggery, stealing, corruption, because it's not a question of survival of the fittest. And when you look at the judiciary, they don't fall from heaven. They are Nigerian people. They were lawyers, practicing lawyers, to most of these politicians. They, struggle to be made judges. I don't think most people were appointed on merit. So when you look also at the history of these judges, you don't expect anything different to happen, rather unfortunately. But you would have expected that the judge who has gone from the High Court, the Appeal Court, to Supreme Court, will be doing something a lot more decently. If I say, don't be stupid, and somebody else says, don't be stupid, 2 different voices, the same thing. You might not be annoyed when I say, don't be stupid, but you could be annoyed when somebody says, don't be stupid. The emphasis rather changes the language, the meaning of the language. Because if you watched I think I said it in my last program here, if you watched the first Court of Appeal verdict, and you had the chairman reading it, you can swear that he didn't write what he was reading. A lawyer should be fluent with what he has written, and a lot of equivocations, stop and gyrations here and there. You don't know where it's coming from. It shows you that that thing was not written, and there's now evidence to show that that thing was not written by him. And the Supreme Court, as it were, almost carried through. None of the 2 courts mentioned the core issues raised either by Atiku Abubakar or Obi. They never did. And you don't know where, it is unfortunate that is where our country is. It is pretty unfortunate. And you know why? The man who is president today, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a lawyer, but I have lots of friends. My younger brother, the same parent, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria. So I'm a small pocket lawyer, just listening to him over the past many years, You would wonder that somebody like Tinubu, who struggled for democracy, I didn't know how young you people were. He struggled for democracy in this country. All of a sudden, following MKO Abiola all over this country. I think in most cases they were detained. Some of them ran away. I met him first when he was a senator with Chibok Kadibo. They came to my hotel room at the Transcorp, and I saw a determined young man who wanted to make a change. And when he became the governor of Lagos State, you could see that determination. He fought the PDP. When PDP took over the rest of the Southwest, he made sure that Lagos didn't go. So a lot of people developed so much confidence in him. But over time, he turned Lagos into a private residence. 24 years he's been holding the affairs of Lagos. He has now taken over Nigeria. Rather unfortunately, that this country is going down. He has taken over Ministry of Finance, Central Bank, Immigration, Post Authority. There are about 5 or 6 strategic institutions of government that he has given to his friends and cronies. I don't know what his intentions are. And probably he doesn't believe, he's just trying to extend what Buhari did. So it's difficult to just blame the judiciary. They are part of the system.
But you know, Chief, you know, when you listen to the comeback from the APC to what Peter B said, I mean, they said clearly that the cases are not won in the whole of public opinion. And that is one thing to, you know, sort of be sentimental about your opinions, another thing to follow the purview of the judiciary, and so the courts will have its day. Now, you have an executive that also is the poster girl or poster boy for Nigeria in the Committee of Nations, internationally, otherwise. The president has been doing a lot of round trips around the world. How does this reflect on us?
It is unfortunate. And I will honestly tell you that most countries will be laughing at us. Like, he's going around talking about investment. Tell me who will put his money where there is no security. That is when I know that there are no serious persons advising him. Because not even locally will you go to get out the money you have in savings or what in the bank to go and invest somewhere, where you know that if it is farming or something, you might have the risk of being killed. And that's the end of it. So all he's doing, like, you know, there was a program, I think my last program, I was saying, start with one example, releasing Nnamdi Kanu, if you are honest. Try it. The judiciary has given you a lead to release him. There will be more than 80% peace in Southeast. That will be a big achievement. It might take a lead to other areas like the Boko Haram, the bandits, because every protest, and I continue to maintain that every protest is as a result of unresolved grievance. I don't know the beginning of Boko Haram and bandits, but there must be some grievances that are not resolved that people are trying to protest about. And I'm one person who believes in dialogue, even with armed robbers. I believe in dialogue. Sit down and discuss with people. Now look at, you know, I think it was you and Kali, there was something we were discussing. I told you that Nigeria is gradually becoming an Afghanistan. By that time, it wasn't as bad as this. But any day you don't have on your television or other networks and in newspapers about killing people, it becomes an exception to the rule. So every day, if we have good statistical process, you see that more than 500 to 1,000 people die in this country. The herdsmen in Benue Plateau trying to finish everybody there. The bandits in Northwest, the bandits in Northwest, the Boko Haram in Northeast and spreading to other areas. In fact, you can only say that it's in the Southeast that IPOP is not working. It is incidentally people in governance that are perpetuating, you know, violence in the Southeast. Because you trace most of the violence to people in governance, either for re-election or whatever. You don't have any reference being made to IPOD, evidentially. I haven't had one. So
All right,
it's pretty
Chief.
unfortunate that this is where we are in this country.
All right, Chief, let's still stay a bit with what your presidential candidate, Peter Obi, said at that meeting, because there have been several reactions to what he said. And I'm quoting what came from someone who doesn't belong to any party really, but so to speak, is speaking from a legal point of view. And I'm talking about Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Wahab Shitu. He did say that one question to ask is which of the issues that were raised in court was proven beyond a reasonable doubt, because we have the Electoral Act which says that if you say there was violence in an election, it's not just enough to say there was violence. You must be able to prove that beyond reasonable doubt. And then he questioned malpractice, forgery, perjury, and all of that. And in his own legal point of view, he says none of them was proven in court. So the judges should not be blamed for that.
Well, like I said initially, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know the processes of, you know, I don't believe that almost 20 to 30 senior advocates, both for P2B and Atiku Abubakar, are foolish. I don't think we have, whatever it is, that brilliant that you look at senior advocate Uche and say that he didn't know what he was doing, or Mike Zahome. These are very brilliant lawyers. And they were contesting for something. Because if you look at the way the judgments were being given, they left the main issues, only made scathing remarks that this was not proved. How can you show that it was not proven? It's only the judge who says it. He is the final. I mean, they are infallible because their decisions are final. So anybody can afford to play around that rhetoric of how do you prove, because the court only says whether you proved it or not. And I don't believe that they wasted all these months without proving anything. If I was an attorney, I would have probably gone into step by step of what they were saying. But most Nigerians were convinced that INEC did not say what it promised it to do. That there were, mago here and there. Most Nigerians believe that, and most Nigerians are not foolish. By all means, please, the lawyer should not. It's court of public opinion. It's very important in civilized communities, because all it means that next election, those people will not vote for you. If indeed they voted for you, you should have listened. Because if indeed they were not voted for and this thing happened, they are sure to fail in the next election. But you see all of them go through again, because the same thing will repeat itself. So this is why I said that democracy depends on heavy doses of civility. And once we don't have it, it's the marketplace. Anything happens.
Okay, so one more follow-up question. How do you react, really, or respond to those who said that, okay, fine, P2B may believe that he has been cheated. Obedient movement followers may also believe that justice has not been served. But the fact that the judgment has been given up to the Supreme Court, it was a hot, a hot chase, really, for the APC, and it wasn't easy at all. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court has given its final judgment that probably P2B should just have congratulated the president and then told his followers to wait, that they would get prepared for the next election and, even go out better.
If I say something is bad and I'm convinced something is bad, it would be stupid of me to turn around to congratulate that process, because you become complicit. What I should be looking at, I had a series of very serious meetings yesterday with top-level members of my party at the highest level yesterday for hours on end. And we're thinking of how to reorganize. I mean, what we're looking for now, how do we reorganize the party? How do we make sure that this place is not turned into a one-party country? Because that is where Tinubu is moving to. You can see some top-level members of all parties. They are buying them one after the other. We will make sure we don't allow this country to become a one-party state. So I would advise, and the next, probably after Christmas, we're trying to set up committees for serious reorganization and reconciliation of, starting with PDP. I don't know what Peter wants to think about, but he left PDP to
Oh, you are really in PDP, and I kept saying your candidates. Can you imagine? You are in PDP. Why am I referring to you as an LP
Were you
person?
referring to me as LP?
I was actually saying your candidate. Not, okay, it was the Labour Party. Probably because it's from your state. That's the
my friend.
confusion
Besides,
there.
it's from my state. He's been a very close friend of mine. I mean, about a week ago, we were in a ceremony, a funeral together, and nobody could believe how we were shouting, hugging ourselves and that. But what I'm saying is that the two parties need to sit down and tell themselves the truth, looking forward, for the overall interest of this country.
Absolutely.
Somebody somewhere has to, when you see marriage succeed, it's either the wife or the husband would have to be stupid. One of the partners must be stupid, at least up to first 10 years of that marriage, for things to normalize. If you don't do that, that's a problem. So that is on our part in PDP. We had several meetings with our governors to see how we can reorganize the party, strengthen the party.
Okay.
But if PDP does that and Labour does not seriously think, whether come 2027 they can make it on their own, then what happened last will happen again.
This is
so this is a time for very serious discussion on both sides.
I mean, this is a very instructive point of engagement. This, trying to rally around and reconvene and rethink strategy. within the PDP, because just last week Morgan Stanley International removed major Nigerian securities from the stock market, and what that means is that international foreign direct investors are not, trusting the Nigerian economic system. Several layers of investor confidence has been eroded, and the question is, who speaks the truth to power? And we've had several guests here talk about, the lack of opposition voices that are strong enough, that are instructive enough to keep the executive on their toes. So now you've mentioned that PDP is having conversations during the meeting, setting up committees. However, of course, we've seen in the past 2 weeks the sort of back and forth within the PDP between two of his, frontmen from River State, Fubara and that of Wike. There have been back and forth. Several platforms have questioned if somebody like Wike is still in the PDP and of the PDP and projecting the PDP. So in the terms of reconciliation and reorganization, what is the first priority for PDP? Is it to identify the strengths of their voices against opposition, or to fix the broken chords of the voices within the PDP first?
Until a week and a half ago or thereabout, when the Supreme Court gave judgment, it was difficult for anybody to sit down and discuss anything about reconciliation or reorganization. Everybody was being hopeful that somehow something would give way. We'll probably go for another election and then come back to reorganize ourselves. But having gotten this finality, that is why we have started very serious meetings now, what to do. Reference to Wike is still in PDP. I mean, he went to court to get an order that he will not be expelled. So theoretically, he's in PDP. I think he has exercised his right of his human rights to a level of abuse, because there is cynicism that leads to brutality of action, which is very unfortunate. He was a PDP local government chairman, PDP chief of staff, PDP minister first, PDP governor for 8 years. And, for him to end up like this, he's my friend. Like I said in one of my programs here, when he invited me to Port Harcourt, that was how he introduced me to this Fubara. I think he said he was his accountant general or something, and swore in his name that he would leave here and, leave them to do their own, that nobody is disturbing him doing his own work. And that was exactly the way Rotimi Amechi introduced me to Wike himself when he was his chief of staff. Because of my friendship with Dr. Peter Odili, we've been used to all the processes in reverse politics as if we are from Port Harcourt. So if I tell you I don't know what is going on there, I exactly know what is going on there. On the governor's side, I've spoken with a lot of people in the past 24 hours. But I haven't spoken with Wike, but I have to do that in the next 2, 3, 4 hours, to really know where he's coming from. Because the situation doesn't tell any good of him, too. I mean, if he loses control of his state, because the information I get from the other side, there's some level of interference on his side. But, I'm one person who doesn't make judgments, hearing one side.
Until you hear from both sides.
Until I have to hear from him.
But the information in the public domain is that he says there's a political structure which the governor of Fubara is about destroying, and he wouldn't allow that to happen because that's a structure that also threw him up as the governor. Well,
like I said, I have spoken with not the governor directly, but I hope I'll speak with him. I've spoken with people who are very close to him. That is not the information on the ground. That's far from, structure has nothing to do with what they have told me. So if I hear from Wike, then we'll see how, we discussed that extensively yesterday too at a high-level meeting in PDP. We don't want to lose anybody. Okay, if it is possible, we don't want to lose anybody. Unless the person becomes so recalcitrant, if he starts playing God, then we'll all go to the field and see what happens.
Okay, you talked about control here, and I just want to pick on the word because, a lot of people have also, I'm sure a lot of enlightened political pundits have sort of evaluated the control system of godfathers, people who appoint people into position, and how they also allow, those people who take over from them to leverage on the goodwill of the people and, bring a new dimension to leadership. And we've seen that not just in River State. We have seen that in Kogi State, where the elections that are about to happen split the APC even into personalities, where one had to now go and join SDP, but was a very good bedfellow with the APC. So where do we now draw the line with this control that you mentioned and the boundaries, so that those who are appointed or elected or chosen or anointed, if the word would allow me, are allowed to thrive in their new space?
You know, as a scientist, you can see why I laid the first foundation on civility. If you look at the word civility, it's just all-encompassing. What are the qualities of those that turn out to be governor? Being a graduate is not a certificate of being a good governor or governing well. Civility involves character, training. How did your parents bring you up? Which school did you attend? What teachers taught you? Look at, for the past, since 23 years, we've been talking about the integrity of the man, Tinubu. From, what is it, that late Lagos lawyer, Gani Fawahimi, including even the senior advocate of dishonesty called Kiamo, who was in Gani Fawahimi's chambers, helped to sue Tinubu to court for a lot of things they stated in the court. Today, he is the chief spokesperson, now a minister with him. So what integrity do you ascribe to that kind of person? So I can tell you, my name is Dan Ulasi. Nobody questions my name. I haven't changed my name. I attended St. Teresa's College in Nsukka. I did high school there. I attended the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. I had graduated in 1973. I have classmates. I was first state of National Youth Service Corps. I served in Sokoto, then Northwestern State. Had my secondary assignment at Bida General Hospital. There are records. But I don't think there are such records about the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. People are questioning the integrity of what he submits. And the Constitution made it so easy that you don't need to have a school certificate to be President of Nigeria, to be anything. I think it's attempted something, school Form 4 or something. Why do you submit what will give you trouble tomorrow? In that context, we are now talking, now watch the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria discussing that his own son attended the Federal Executive Council. That was where I gave up on my country. It is political abomination. Never been heard anywhere. His own son, from his mouth, and other uninvited persons attending the Federal Executive Council. We saw his own son with a presidential jet coming back from Kano, attending a polo match. When my wife, a professor of medicine, for the past 15 years, just showed me where they paid 35,000 to her account. She leaves Enugu to Ituku Ozala. Almost 30 minutes going, 30 minutes coming back. I know what it cost me in terms of petrol. And the son takes a presidential jet with security escorts and everything, 3-4 days in Kano to watch a polo match. That would have cost this country more than 50 million naira. That's a very conservative estimate. That same boy attends a Federal Executive Council. What is coming to your head about the future of our country? Tomorrow or day after tomorrow, when somebody makes a mention of it, somebody will, like Kiamo, will come out to defend it. His father is president. Maybe he has a right, because his father is a president, to attend the Federal Executive Council.
All right, good at the president himself condemned that right there.
Isn't that recklessness in the first place? What could he have done but to condemn it?
Of course, that sounds...
Was he walked out? Did the president say that he asked him to leave the room? He didn't say that. He didn't say that. The boy remained until the meeting finished. But when he heard that people have started commenting on it, he quickly, condemned it. That is recklessness.
Okay, Chief, let's move to other issues. Off-cycle elections are right here with us. 3 states, in the horizon: Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi State. And what we hear, even from the pages of the newspaper today, is that killings, have become the order of the day. Nobody knows who is killing who and who is doing what, who is involved. Political parties are accusing themselves, accusing one another of being responsible for that, to the extent that, the SDP candidate in Kogi State, for instance, was attacked yet again, because that's not the first attack from what we hear in the reports, and then people died in this case. What do you think is going on with the political class?
It is pretty unfortunate. I've been chairman of National Republican Convention in Anambra, chairman of PDP, and I can't remember. I fought the June 12 election and narrowly beat SDP. I think that was the only place Abiola did not win in the whole country. That was my state. And we didn't even as much as have serious altercation. How much more thinking of killing anybody? I was on television going around the whole local government talking to people. And the SDP then, under SDP, was doing the same thing. I don't know. It's difficult for me to answer this question because, again, it comes back to what I said about civility. If you don't have character, you don't have character. You would have thought that Nigerians used to have value for life. It is now evident that we don't have value for life. We have value for money, not just value for it. We worship it, and we can kill because of it.
And power.
That is the summary of power. You know, when you hear that people in government can organize to kill people, lawyers run out of the country, they don't know where they can stay because they comment or criticize what government is doing. I would have expected that a government that is serious should be interested in people criticizing it so that it can do better. I don't know. It's a question only the security agencies will answer. But these security agencies are also complicit. Look at what happened with the president of the Labour Congress. I read the government statement or the police statement. It looks so ridiculous. Whether they think we didn't go to school. So ridiculous and stupid. You know, increasingly, I'm one of those who still have a little hope for this country. But I'm gradually losing that hope. If the police that is supposed to protect persons organize and attack them and issue statements that are ridiculous, a whole president of the Labour Congress of Nigeria comes to Imo, their first priority is to make sure they protect him. Not just because he's from Imo State. He's coming there on behalf of workers of Nigeria, on behalf of workers of Imo State. So this violence is gone beyond discussion because now it's in the 3 states. Bayelsa, that used to be fairly quiet, it's gotten out of hand. I heard there was an explosion in the house of a PDP chieftain near the house of former President Goodluck. And a lot of other killings have happened. The one of Kogi has gone out of, I don't know between Kogi and Imo, which one has taken lead. Because Kogi is getting out of hand, I think. Because I listened to the candidate of SDP, and a brilliant, apparently decent-looking man who spoke so well. And it is worrisome where we are at this moment.
Okay, so let's look at, extended the lenses of violence. I mean, Joe Ajero is one man representing NLC and the rights of workers across Nigeria. He was brutalized in daylight. Police alleges that they put him under protective custody. Or, in their statement as written. However, let's look at this in extension to the election on Saturday. If one man like Joe Ajero could be attacked and brutalized, even though the police has not, said they did anything and had plausible deniability, what about the citizens who are supposed to come out and vote on Saturday? How safe are they? Opposition has alleged that none of their posters are allowed to thrive and stand up on billboards in Imo State. Communities like Ohajegbema, Olu, Okigwe, several areas are under siege because some of the strongholds of the PDP are also in those areas, and followers and frontiers feel threatened that their lives is at stake. How do you look at this as a worrying factor? INEC says, well, if election happens in certain places, we will not count the votes in those areas. Like one of the reviewers said,
violence.
Yes. Doesn't this embolden the perpetrators to use violence as a tool to scuttle free, fair, transparent processes during the election? Because if INEC says they will scuttle, or rather they would deny votes to be counted in those areas, these personalities may want to just use that tool as an inroad.
You know why there's no hope?
Well, let me hold you there. I'm told that it's time for us to do Kakaki Social, so when we come right back on that, I will take you up on that. But Rena will be up next.
So what is he professing? He comes on television days and months and weeks on end telling Nigerians this is what will happen. And it never happened. They are now telling us again they will conduct a free and fair election, which they have never done anywhere.
Well,
so isn't that difficult for people to believe?
Don't you think that with the hue and cry over, what happened in 2023 election, which of course the courts have decided on, would make INEC this time want to, buy in the confidence of Nigerians once again and see that this election is conducted freely and fairly?
All the courts did was to confirm the illegality INEC carried out. That's what the Presidential Appeal Court and the Supreme Court did. So they can continue doing what they are doing. The 2 courts just confirmed the illegality. That's why Nigerian people, that's what P2B was speaking about. That was what Atiku Abubakar was speaking about. and so many other well-meaning Nigerians, the illegality conducted by INEC has been confirmed. So that's why I said their decision is infallible because it is final. And so what do you do?
But isn't it politicians really that are even, forcing whatever kind of inducement? So if you blame the umpire, what happens to those in the political parties and those who
that's what I started.
also...
These are the statements I started with. The judges are not different from the Nigerian society. I used 3 different types of phraseologies, about reflective instinct to self-preservation, and, people who don't believe in civility. If you don't believe in the word civility, you can never do anything that is clean. You can't. Even in classrooms now, teachers are also manipulating students. Somebody who is not supposed to make a first class suddenly comes out first class. And when you see the material acting, you know that it's not a first class material. It's happening everywhere. So the society is decaying and collapsing. We are at a serious precipice. So what we are trying to do, and I said it, that on PDP side, we're trying to see how we can organize a strong opposition group. How Labour reacts will complement what we're trying to do. That's the only way to try to help this country stabilize and survive. We pray God that we don't need a one-party state. Even if it's going to be a one-party state, let there be some honesty and credibility about those who are pursuing it. Because there's no credibility about the whole system. Absolutely not.
And in Imo State, the other candidates have demanded that INEC remove the resident electoral commissioner, Silva Ago. But INEC came back to say, well, they don't have any strong evidence on why she should be removed, outside the fact that they say she has been compromised. In Kogi State, Dino Milaya is alleging that there is, under intelligence, a mandate by the ruling party to bring in thugs from other states and also continue with violence. In Bayelsa State is no different. So at what point do we begin to, I know you talked about civility in the beginning, and that was well heard out, but at what point do we also begin to look at the citizens as well and the role that they play in their choices? How do we begin to demand accountability from the leaders and the politicians that we put in power? And at what point do the citizens also rise up again? Because you talked about being resigned here a few moments ago, that you're almost giving up on Nigeria. Where do we not give up at this point?
You know why it is difficult? These same politicians take advantage, they leverage the poverty, because they come from the environment. They share money, they share rice, they share all manner of things. So the poor woman doesn't talk. This thing is a very complicated thing. If you know, Adora, you've done an election, and like I told you once, when you called me that you went, I said, you better keep your money and eat with it. And you went and had an experience. Because with due humility, I don't think I've given a naira to anybody in the election. When Ezife was governor, SDP, I was chairman of NRC. One federal election was held in Orumba, North and South. I won him. A state assembly seat was held in Obaro. I won him. He didn't kill anybody. There was no altercation. It was a free, I think it was, what is the professor who was from Anambra, who was INEC chairman then. I still remember his name. Everything went clean. The votes were counted. I think that time we were doing this standing, what do they call it, option A4 or something. You stand in line and people will be counting. And that was a very clean way of doing election, because it's difficult for you to do anything funny, unless when they bring talks to scatter people. But when INEC and the security agencies are complicit with either the government or top politicians, not just government, the other parties too, if you see strong candidates who have money from another party, they also do what government is doing. Because in their constituency, they seize their constituency.
All right.
You enter there.
Chief.
So we only pray, God, that let us all carry the cup of salvation and pray that God will help this country.
We pray that God will help this country. Good prayer, and I know God will answer. Coming from Chief Dan Ulasi. All right, we've been speaking with Chief Dan Ulasi, chairman, former chairman, rather, PDP in Anambra State, a political analyst, lending his voice on the state of the nation on every issue that is troubling the country at the time. Chief, thank you so much, and welcome to Abuja once again.
Thank you so much. But I'm hoping that God will use men and not ghosts to help the country at the end of the day, and hoping that PDP get its acts together. But we'll take a